So then, now what is cultural competence? It means building awareness, knowledge, and understanding in order to value cultural diversity and act in ways that promote fairness, justice, and community confidence. And I'll repeat that again for the folks on the phone. Cultural competence means building awareness, knowledge, and understanding in order to value cultural diversity and act in ways that promote fairness, justice, and community confidence. So these last pieces here, fairness, justice, and community confidence, that's something that we can all support, right? So figuring out how can we get to a place of fairness for everybody. So cultural competence is a process. It's a vehicle for moving toward a goal of fairness. The substance is the highest level of functioning in multicultural environments. So it's a process, a vehicle for moving toward a goal of fairness, and the substance is the highest level of functioning in multicultural environments. So this graph, called cross-Bennett models, is supposed to show, kind of illustrates the progression of cultural competence. So we have at the very bottom, and for those of you on the phone, it looks like a stair step. So on the lowest stair, it says cultural destructiveness. And cultural destructiveness is, of course, those things that harm other people. I don't like your culture. I don't like your people. I'm going to do things that are going to be counterproductive to you. Cultural incapacity is, I don't know what to do. I'm not used to working with those kind of people. And so therefore I ignore them, I ignore their needs, whatever it might be. Cultural blindness is, I don't see people, I don't see color, I just see people. What's the problem with that? Cultural blindness. I don't see color, I just see people. Or I don't see...
It's not realistic.
Okay, it's not realistic, why not?
Because we notice things.
Right. So we're acting like we don't notice, but we do. And we're constantly taking in information, consciously or unconsciously. And, you know, goodness, they notice too, right? They notice when you're uncomfortable. They notice when you're not used to working with that population, whatever it is. So cultural competence is coming out of cultural blindness. It's saying, I need to know, I need to notice. This is a group I actually don't know very much about. And all of us have groups like that, right? There are groups that we are more competent in and groups that we're not. You're very competent in your workplace here. If you were to go to another workplace, you're going to be less competent initially until you learn to be competent. So pre-competence is, I know what I don't know, and I need to move forward and learn. Cultural competence is now, I'm able to function effectively in an environment and particularly different from my own. Does anyone have any cultural spaces that is not necessarily your cultural place, background, that you actually function fairly well in? Yeah, which ones?
Ex-offenders.
Ex-offenders? Okay, what about that?
I operate well, even though I have a felony, but I operate well in that culture.
Okay.
I have a lot of family members with felony, but
all right. So, and so for you, it's not, I'm just making some assumptions here. So for you, you're not uncomfortable working with people who have felony convictions, that you know some of the challenges that they have and kind of know some of the steps that need to be taken to kind of move them through a process. So that's a very good example. Don't necessarily need to be a felon to be able to work with people with felony convictions, right? Certainly when we have people with felony backgrounds, in many ways that's a plus because they also understand from a personal going through that to be able to also assist people, right? Okay. And then we go to cultural proficiency. This is when it's automatic, right? We know the ins and outs of that. So some of you were talking about cultural grouping of tattoo culture, right? You all are more culturally proficient around that than I am. Like I didn't even know what to call a sleeve, right? But I'm sure the more that I would hang around you, the more competence competency that I would grow, and it would be less awkward for me to know some of that terminology, that language, that culture, right? So to be able to get to the stair steps from cultural destructiveness to cultural incapacity, to cultural blindness, cultural precompetence, cultural competence, and cultural proficiency, we need to know which groups am I culturally proficient at, which ones am I competent at, which ones I'm really not very good at.